Okay, I'll get started here. So when I saw the call to participate in this, I'm calling it a teach-in, I immediately thought about poetry, because I think that poetry has this enormous power to work through images. And when I think of what's happening with the climate and the planet, I have certain images that really haunt me. So the first thing I did was I turned to this collection that I love. It's called Poems to Live By in Uncertain Times. And as I was paging through it, I realized that so many of the images in this poem are, they're poets that use images from nature all the time, but these images were very soothing for the most part. And I felt like, I don't know, there's this interesting tension between our desire to be soothed by nature, which is why poets return to it again and again, and then our need to confront the images of how things are changing and the pain and the grief that's wrapped up in that. So I ended up picking two poems from here that are actually not about climate change at all. Both of the poets are writing out of an experience of war and being displaced by war, but as poems do, they work as metaphors. So I can read climate change in there. So I'm gonna read two of these. And then I also got kind of inspired to write a poem of my own as I was thinking about what are the images that haunt me, what do I want to say about this. And so I'm going to start with a poem called The City by C.P. Cavafy. I don't know if I'm saying his name right, I'm sorry. And he's kind of alluding to this idea of human migration, which is something that I think about when I think about climate change. And I think as Americans, it's really easy for us to think like when things aren't going well, you can't find a job where you live, like you can just move somewhere else. We have this huge country with all this open space. We can just move to another city or go to the West Coast. And when you think about the big changes that are coming for our planet, that's maybe not such an option anymore. And so that's what he's writing about in this poem, this idea of not being able to leave. Okay. It's called The City. You said, I'll go to another country, go to another shore, find another city better than this one. Whatever I try to do is fated to turn out wrong, and my heart lies buried like something dead. How long can I let my mind molder in this place? Wherever I turn, wherever I look, I see the black ruins of my life here, where I've spent so many years, wasted them, destroyed them totally. You won't find a new country, won't find another shore. This city will always pursue you. You will walk the same streets, grow old in the same neighborhoods, turn gray in these same houses. You'll always end up in this city. Don't hope for things elsewhere. There's no ship for you. There's no road. Now that you've wasted your life here, in this small corner, you've destroyed it everywhere in the world. It's really, really sad. Okay, so I'm going to give you another kind of sad poem, and then I'm going to end on a third poem that I think does what we love about poetry and provides us with a little bit of hope too through nature. So this is the one I wrote. It's called The Haunting, a Climate Change Lament. I think the title says what it's about pretty well. Okay. So once upon a time, nature documentaries were family-friendly viewing, and David Attenborough's soothing voice, with all the gravitas of the BBC, led us through the jungle, the savannah, the ocean floor, while my brother and I ate cereal on our living room rug, our pajama t-shirts stretched over our knees, milk dribbling now and again down our chins. Once upon a time, the melting of the polar ice caps was a distant notion, something that might happen someday in the future, far away from here. We all wanted to save the Amazon, become marine biologists, reduce, reuse, recycle, and maybe someday drive electric cars. Someday has become today, and China won't take our recycling anymore, and maybe it's been dumped into the ocean all this time anyway. And monstrous islands of plastic float through the seas, and the whales are washing ashore, bellies bloated with the stuff, those Ziploc bags we are too tired to wash out at the end of a long day. All that packaging from all those toys, cushioning boxes that arrive from the other Amazon, emblazoned with a smile, making us feel clever for not wasting gas and driving to the store. And now, when I turn on Netflix for David Attenborough's latest project, watching with my own children, I'm confronted with the enormity of what we failed to do for 100 years and more, from the time of the Iron Horse. I am haunted by the slow motion image of degrading glaciers tumbling into the ocean, raising up the sea level, spilling onto low-lying islands, taking with them our temperate, coherent weather, and leaving in their wake wild swings in temperature that we moan about on social media. Go home, spring, you're drunk, after the third blizzard in April. And I am haunted by the footage of increasingly brutal hurricanes leveling islands and our refusal to welcome refugees onto a land with so much empty space. And I'm haunted by the fear that we will never make the hard collective choices required to confront this greatest of threats. And I am haunted by the vision of how my children will suffer long after I am gone. Okay. So as promised, I have one more for you that I think uses the metaphors of nature to help us think about what we can do and what we need to do and what we must do. And it provides some of that comfort, I think, that we can find in nature. It's called Throw Yourself Like a Seed. It's by Miguel de Unamuno. He says, "Shake off this sadness and recover your spirit. Sluggish, you will never see the wheel of fate that brushes your heel as it turns going by. The man who wants to live is the man in whom life is abundant. Now you are only giving food to that final pain, which is slowly winding you in the nets of death. But to live is to work, and the only thing which lasts is the work. Start there. Turn to the work. Don't throw yourself like a seed as you walk, and into your field, don't turn your face, for that would be to turn it to death. And do not let the past weigh down your motion. Leave what's alive in the furrow, what's dead in yourself, for life does not move in the same way as a group of clouds. From your work, you will one day be able to gather yourself." Thank you.